Welcome back to another episode of Getting Personal. I'm here today with Rob Allen, Head of Future Payments Strategy at Australian Payments Plus, and also their rep on the Hedera Governing Council. How are you today, Rob? It's really great to have you.
Hey, Jack. Been looking forward to this one. Really pleased to be here.
Nice. So before we get into your personal story and talk a little bit more, about the role of Australian Payments Plus and everything that you do over there, it's a big day today for HCS 20. We have the Jubilee happening today as we record this. And yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I know you did a little experiment yourself as well. So yeah, I'd just love to hear your thoughts on the whole HCS 20.
I love the whole idea of HCS 20. You know, what Patches has done with these kind of Hedera-based inscriptions or points, the super lightweight way of utilizing the Hedera consensus service. It makes it so accessible. And I'm really interested in how, using the tools that are being provided, we're going to find some really cool use cases for it. As you just alluded to, I kind of have a little experiment running with the podcast I do with Brandon, the HBAR Bull, to gamify the AMA questions that we do every week. We've only had one person to have done that, and that was you. We recorded earlier today, and I actually answered that question. So I'm kind of on a bound now to kind of answer all the questions that come through the HCS 20 route. We're kind of interested in how to use it, how people choose to use it, the friction points, or how it's certainly not as easy as just dumping a question in a YouTube response, but it gets people thinking and using the HCS 20 service. And like you said, the Jubilee is today, so that's it's all awesomeness, right? Everything about it, super lightweight point system on the super high throughput, best distributed ledger. I mean, what's not to love?
Absolutely. And hopefully you mentioned friction, right? And that has been part of the first 2-3 weeks leading up to the Jubilee. It's kind of been put out there and the community's running with it. And now with the Jubilee, hopefully some of those friction points or tools are going to be improved. There's going to be new standards, so we'll probably see even more use cases, right? Like your little experiment. We've been seeing a few, but I think from tomorrow there'll be, or from today.
Yeah, we've just got to stop people like you minting everything, and then having to apologize and return them back to me. So.
Yeah, that was a fun mistake to learn how to burn, right? It was learning.
It was really good. Well, this is what it's for, right? This is how we experiment. This is how we work out the effective tools for using that standard. So, we're not inscribing on Bitcoin. This isn't actually, trying to, do something like that. This is actually using this super lightweight way of doing cool things, out of which the innovation will kind of materialize. It's actually almost like another service. Although we're using HCS, we're using it in a particular way for a whole range of other things. So, I'm super excited to see how it develops over the next few weeks and months.
Yeah, absolutely. Same. So let's talk a little bit about you. Before Hedera, before Web3, who is Rob?
Wow, before Hedera. Well, actually, there's a lot before Hedera because I'm quite old. I'm a Brit. A lot of people think I'm an Aussie, but I'm a Brit. Came to Australia 8 years ago. I started my career in the British Army. I'm a former Army officer and engineer, built battlefield computer systems, deployed all over the world with the systems that we built in the 1990s. So that's the Gulf War and the Balkan conflict and wherever NATO went. That kind of gave me, and I was a software engineer, so I was kind of combat coder. Enjoyed that life, but I enjoyed computing more than the military life. So chose to leave after 14 years. And after that, I got into banking. I mean, it's kind of neat segue from the British military into the cut and thrust of banking. Actually, via Intel. So I spent a couple of years building supply chain systems at Intel in California. And then as a contractor, I went banking systems, CRM systems first, and then banking system, core banking platforms, and then payment systems. And I kind of got stuck in payment systems. I specialized through coding and systems building, and then project management, program management, portfolio management, and across Lloyds Bank and Barclays and Credit Suisse and Nationwide Building Society and a whole raft of financial institutions in Europe, culminating at Nordea Bank in Scandinavia, where we, a small team of us, were advising the bank's board on bank-wide transformation and simplification. And that was all good. Loved that. I got an opportunity to come to Australia for a bit of an adventure 8 years ago with PwC to help set up their payments practice, which quickly became a fintech practice, which became a blockchain practice. So 2015, I wasn't my first exposure to blockchain, because at Nordea Bank I was on the Ripple consortium on their behalf. So I kind of got my first taste of permissioned blockchains back then. But thought it was pretty cool. As a payments guy, I thought it was actually technology that was interesting and something that I could was early enough for me to actually make a difference. And through the PwC practice, we kind of tried a number of things. Being a payments guy, I really also wanted to find new ways of building distributed, secure, high throughput payment systems, in much the same way as I was building distributed, secure, high throughput battlefield computer systems, which were needed to be transactionally secure at a node by node level, very resilient to individual nodes, i.e., headquarters being taken out. So the parallels were really interesting to me, and one of the things that I'd noticed over my many, many years in building payment systems was that they were very clunky, very either batch-driven. Even the faster payments systems that I built faster payments in the UK and went on to advise on SEPA in Europe and various other ones. And but they didn't address the micro end of the spectrum. The cost of payments was still quite high, something between 5, 10. 20 cents or even higher, depending on the route that they're taking or the route. And I foresaw a future where we needed micropayments at truly the micro level. Micropayments have been around for many years, but they were never made commercially available. The technology didn't allow for truly micropayment to happen. For example, I think MasterCard, think a micropayment, cup of coffee, as a micropayment in the MasterCard nomenclature. But I want micropayments to be truly micro. I want them to be 1 cent or 1 penny, or less. And I was always looking for ways of doing that. And I thought blockchain was going to be the way to do it. But the only way we could do it back in 2015, 2016 was with a private permissioned network. And we tried this a few times and did couple of remittance, cross-border remittance proofs of concept with a UK bank on the remittance collar. But that wasn't interesting either. Private permissioned ledgers are really just distributed databases. I'd already done that. We've been doing it for decades. Secure distributed databases, just extending the perimeter fence around that network to secure it is not particularly innovative or interesting, although quite complex. So I wanted to find ways to do it on public chains. And in 2017, I was first introduced to Lehman Baird and Mance Harmon through our PwC network in the US. And I had about 3 hours. We built this system called Vulcan, which was effectively a private permissioned stablecoin closed loop system. And I was introduced to Lehman, and we spent about 3 hours talking about what we were doing and talking about what they were doing with the hash graph, and totally blew my mind, right? So I thought, this is exactly what we need, what I need for micropayments. But it wasn't ready for prime time, right? It wasn't, it was just pre-open access. It was pre the the launch that we saw in 2019. But I kind of lurked in a few Telegram channels. I was interested in what was quite a lot of information that was coming out, but very different to the noise that 2017 was the ICO boom, right? So like 2017, 2018, we weren't part of that. We kind of missed that boat completely. So it didn't feel like crypto. It just felt like developing infrastructure, which was super cool, but not part of that scene. And that's Telegram was where we all lurked. Or not. Brandon, actually, the H-Bar Bull, was one of the few really strong voices in the community, and continues to be that. Coinman the Barbarian was creating his memes back then, and no one really understood what Hedera was. So the OGs in the space, we kind of knocked around, but there wasn't really much to really push on until open access. And around the same time I left PwC and set up my own practice, I've always had a strong sustainability focus in all the things I do, which I wanted to try and put into practice. So I set up my own consulting practice to work at the intersection of distributed ledgers or blockchains and sustainability and the Sustainable Development Goals. And set up a couple of businesses, and around that time, we had open access, and all of a sudden we had not all of the Hedera goodness, because we only had a few. We had the HBAR, the cryptocurrency service, the file service, and then we got the Hedera consensus service, and all of a sudden light bulbs started going on. These features that entire blockchains were built, data integrity, data provenance, were just a simple and easy feature to use, and that was really cool. And so a lot of us were experimenting on the use cases that used the HCS, not so much the file service, but then the HTS, the Hedera token service, was launched, and of course we had both of those things and the original smart contract service. And these composable services were all super cool, very easy to use, and because we were building systems, we could kind of incorporate them in lots of super cool different ways. Sorry, this is a very long what happened before.
I'm loving it.
But let's give you the full story in as much of a nutshell as I can muster. And just pre-COVID, actually, I was invited to join a national debit card infrastructure operator in Australia. As their entrepreneur in residence, there was a need to build a new business for digital identity, which I did. I brought a team together, and we did lots of cool, startup-y innovation, which is called Connect ID. And while I was doing that as entrepreneur in residence, I had the opportunity to introduce FPOS to Hedera. I've been, sort of dabbling and doing, cool things. But I still came back to this micropayments kind of desire and all of a sudden I was in the right place, right? I could demonstrate this through proof of concept within the context of both my role and the business. And that went really well. We were using an AppNet architecture, so HCS and AppNet. We were leveraging some of the those are your viewers who are OGs as well will remember the daily timestamp. The daily timestamp was a kind of an experiment that the community really got behind, where you could pay fractions of a cent for reading news pages of news, consuming media. So we just picked that up, and we thought that's a really cool idea. Let's try and let's use the wallet app that FPOS has, and let's see how it goes. And it went really, really well. Very, very well. And we tied identity into it, verifiable credentials with, QR and the ability to make tiny payments, 1 cent payments. And that it went so well, we were actually invited to join the governing council. And so I'd gone from like fanboy to governing council member over the course of what was about 4 years. I still feel like a fanboy. I still feel like a community maxi. But I was on the governing council, so we were able to really demonstrate to the payments industry in Australia that what we'd done. But at that point, FPOS got merged into what we now call Australian Payments Plus, and I kind of left, handed over the Connect ID business, left FPOS as this is 2 years ago, combined with our national faster payments infrastructure, our merchant bill payments infrastructure, and an associated set of businesses all into one group. On the governing council, I had been part of the working group that wrote the RFP for the foundation. So I was actually invited to join the foundation by Shane Higdon to help them set it up, which I was delighted to do because it kept me within the Hedera fold, and actually I could leverage a lot of experience I'd had from being both fanboy and being a governing council member. And I was there for 18 months. Then the CorpCom, Corporate Utilisation Committee of Hedera, had set up an enterprise program, which was handed over to THA, the Hashgraph Association, to run. And so I was invited to join and had embed it into their processes, which I did, being a true edge barbarian. I kind of only like to go where I can add value and, utilize my skills. And I've got, decades of enterprise delivery skills. So setting up a program wasn't necessarily a problem, but it was a really kind of cool and enjoyable thing to do. But then in November last year, after 2 years of being away, Australian Payments Plus said, we spent 2 years merging and kind of doubling down on changing the operating model and ensuring that everything is fit for purpose and ready to go forward. And now we're ready to start thinking about future payment systems, Web3, blockchain, DLT, really leverage our governing council membership, bring together all these proofs of concept that we've been running independently and draw them into all these threads into one strong, cord that will see us into the future. Would you like to lead it? How could I say no? So having been away for 2 years, I've kind of come full circle, and now I'm back in my dream job. To be honest, they're all dream jobs, right? I can't think of a better career path over the last few years. I feel very, very honored to have been on that journey, but now, I'm back on the governing council. I was elected co-chair of the Corporate Utilisation Committee. So we oversee governing council use cases, enterprise use cases, and many other things. And now facing into, a future where DLT, Web3, and Hedera are part of national financial infrastructure for Australia and potentially across the region. So that's my journey.
That's massive. That was it's always fascinating to see the trajectory and how we transfer skills, right, from previous positions and projects that we've worked on, how they feed into the next, and now
it's
being
so
where
important.
you are.
Yeah. So important, and although it was many, many years ago, learnings that I had in my formative years in the British Army are still coming out almost on a daily basis, whether it be ways of doing things, whether it be ways of not doing things, whether it be core understandings of systems or people, or and not just that, through years of building banking systems and everything. It's all additive. And the skill really is to be able to draw down into it and assemble those into those experiences into actions that are useful in the present and now. And like I said, I've got many years and many experiences to draw upon. So it's tapping into that is kind of what I consider a bit of a superpower.
Absolutely. And you mentioned use cases. I know H Barbarians love to ask, when will Hedera, council members start leveraging? I know some of them do, but like obviously everyone wants to see all council members leveraging the network.
All the time.
You you mentioned Australian Payments Plus, like was it since November last year, starting to really seriously consider deploying? Do you anything you can share on that for the community?
Yeah, I know they'd love to. I get pinged all the time about this. There are lots of levels, right? So I'm not going to give you any alpha on this because there'll be big announcements in the not too distant future. But at every level, there are ways that you can implement the variety of services that Hedera exposes, right? So HCS, HTS, smart contract service, etc. Even at HCS 20 potentially, right? So at an infrastructure level, there are things you can augment payment systems through, additional resiliency, logging, kind of stand-in modes type of things. You can enhance interoperability between networks. You can set up protocols to enable cross, traditional network interoperability. So those card networks, those account-to-account networks, the other protocols or schemes that we use, there are ways of doing that. Then the next level up, you've got the capabilities like the primitives we're seeing, like stable coins or deposit tokens, or the things that the banks do. We connect banks, right? We are core infrastructure. So our members, we've got over 150 members in across the different AP Plus schemes. They've all got different needs. They're payment schemes or retailers or banks or financial institutions. So their use cases are many and varied. Even banks have different use cases because they have different priorities or different strategic priorities. So we're a member organization that has a member focus, right? And each of the schemes has a different set of members, many of the same, but some different. And our core objectives are to lower the cost of payments, to increase trust and security in Australia's payment systems, and to provide platforms for innovation. And that's what we do already. Those are the things that we do with our existing payment systems. And all of those things are pertinent to Web3. And as we know, the world is changing, and it's changing really rapidly. So an organization like AP Plus isn't protected from its global competitors, things like MasterCard and Visa incorporating DLT into their operations, like PayPal issuing stable coins and CBDCs merging all over the world. Our own Reserve Bank running stablecoin pilots, and our own banks issuing stablecoins. So there is a role to play. There is absolutely a role to play within that for AP Plus. And I think there's general consensus that we should. My role is to work out where the low-hanging fruit are, how to get the best consensus between our members for those use cases, and then prioritize, put in place a framework within which we can support the delivery of those use cases from a payment rail or a infrastructure perspective, and then support the delivery. And so we like to talk use cases, but there are hundreds, probably more, of use cases, depending on what those members want. And I talk to them all the time. I'm consulting our Reserve Bank and our banking members, and the regulators and the retailers. And at one end of the spectrum, we talk about reward points and donations and some super cool retailing stuff. And at the other end, we're talking about wholesale banking and commercial connectivity from banks to CBDCs and everything in between. So even micropayments.
Yeah.
So we it really is my dream role, but it's more than just talking. So to answer your question, yes, there will be Hedera based Web3 use cases that we can talk about very soon.
Amazing. And like without talking specifics, like if you looked 5 years into the future, where would you like to see things for yourself and AP Plus, or even Hedera, when it comes to payments and these types of use cases that you mentioned?
5 years is a funny time frame. 10, it's kind of a long way out, and you can start really dreaming. I'm a bit of a futurist, so I do dream. 2 to 3, you kind of can almost touch. So 5 is somewhere in between. So I'll tend to bringing forward because I think things are accelerating. So bringing forward the futurist end of the scenario planning. I honestly think I truly believe this. Highly scalable DLT, layer 1, layer 0 even, as foundational infrastructure for smart cities, smart precincts, decentralized communities is going to be a thing. I think we will have the foundations for those things. And I can't see any other network being able to do that. Layer 2s compromise, and they compromise to the point where they cannot be used for critical, in my view, for critical infrastructure. They can be used for things that are less critical and where users are okay with them going down or being insecure or gas fees being all over the place. But for critical infrastructure, I think you need enterprise, institutional grade network run by known nodes, node operators, right? Not just some hoodie wearing developer in his mum's back room, because you don't know. You don't know who's running the nodes, and there are. We've lost the ability, I think, to verify or to question some of these networks through those layers of abstraction and the retail and mass adoption. The users of the network don't care or don't know to care the things that we cared about just a few years ago. 5 to 10 years ago, we were crypto natives, and the crypto natives absolutely truly cared about consensus protocol, about the security of the network, about don't trust, verify type mindset. Not my not my keys, not my coins was a mantra. But Joe Schmo, who only wants to trade NFTs, and nothing against NFT collectors and traders, because I'm one, don't really care about that separation now. So 5 years' time, I think we will be abstracted away from the infrastructure, but the infrastructure will be decentralized. I think I'd like to see payments or value flowing across these pipes like any other utility. I say this a lot, but I see a future where micropayments will have its pipes like water has its pipes, and electricity and data. It's foundational infrastructure. And as a platform for innovation that is secure and trusted, that's how I see payments moving. And we know we can do it. Right? We'll probably need a few shards on Hedera to do the kind of throughput that I envisage in a 5 to 10 year time frame, maybe. By extension, we have IoT, we have Industry 4.0 use cases, the web of IoT devices that we will have around us, all interacting, incentivized through microtransactions. I think that's going to require maybe shards or even its own layer, but it will be based on hash graph technology. And then everything else that's built on top of it, the things we can't even imagine right now, will start to materialize probably in a 5 to 10 year time frame as well. It's super exciting. We're in a very, very exciting period of technical evolution. And we haven't even mentioned AI. right? And so the pace of advance and the coupling of trust networks like DLTs, where you can have token economies at scale without compromising on security, and the combination of AI-driven processes, super powerful and very dangerous. So, we've got to be
Double-edged
careful
sword.
about it. Yeah.
Are you,
I'm more of a
are
utopian than dystopian mindset, so I'm kind of positive about it. But we do need to go forward carefully, I think.
are you already looking into different ways you could potentially leverage and integrate AI into what you guys are building?
Oh, we are. We've got a whole AI, team in AP Plus. I personally think that we're still learning the tools, and everyone's just kind of finding their way. And humans are learning it far slower than AI is advancing. So it's kind of going to be difficult. Lehman was talking about this recently at Davos as well, so it's not original thought on my part, but data integrity and provenance, being able to trust the models that the LLMs are consuming, or the data that they're consuming, to get to the outcomes that they produce, I think is a very good use case for this intersection between AI and DLT. I like the quote that AI is like capitalism and DLT is like communism. It's kind of the decentralization of the freedom that we get with disintermediation of DLT versus this kind of centralization of knowledge and data and processing. Is kind of the chalk and cheese, but actually in the overlap, that's where the two kind of protect and each other. So AI-driven token economies is crazy to think about where that might go, but the data provenance and integrity that and use of HCS. We keep on coming back to HCS. It's my favorite Hedera service because it's just so all powerful, it's generic and lightweight and cheap and useful. And it is the gateway drug into DLT for most enterprise. Use of the Hedera consensus service is not talked about as much as it should be, I don't think.
Yeah. I love how you coined it, DLT gateway drug. That's a great one.
Well, it absolutely is, right? I mean, and people, any developer can use HCS, and they don't, via the API, and they don't really need to know the massive infrastructure that's underneath it. Just trust it, right? Well, don't trust, verify. If it's verifiable, it improves and increases trust, and that as a first step. And there are many, many enterprises. I mean, just look at Atma.io was doing thousands of HCS transactions a second, and it's just coming towards the use of HTS, and that's how they will all do it. Get the HCS integration in place first. That requires the infrastructural integrations, like having a wallet and receiving HBAR and paying transaction fees in HBAR, and getting through the risk processes that big enterprises have, and product acceptance and services. All of that, when that's all in place, actually, then the next step to use of HTS or use of smart contract service to orchestrate those things in a really interesting and nuanced new architectures. That's one step beyond that. But the gateway drug for enterprise architects is usually the HCS.
Absolutely. I think it's a really interesting contrast. Like you say, you're a Hedera maxi, like you're part of the HBAR community, NFTs, like you love NFTs, but you're also a Hedera council rep. How do you balance that out, first of all? And how do you see like the governing council members and all of these use cases starting to pick up, and how do you see that impacting the small but thriving and rapidly growing HBAR NFT ecosystem today?
Well, there's a lot of questions in there. I don't see the need to balance the degen side of my character with the enterprise, sort of grown up. I can be both, can't I?
Yeah.
Actually, and one informs the other, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to feel like I'm in a governing council ivory tower with no connection to what's actually going on in the fun side of Hedera. Nor do I want to just degen without actually influencing, the enterprise growth. Because I'm an enterprise development
Uh-huh.
program delivery guy, right? So I can't let go of both. But why should I? I've still got stacks of comic books I had in my childhood. I still got collections of things in boxes that I degened into before degen was a term. So it's kind of in my psyche to do that. But I'm a grown up as well, so one has to have both sides. It makes you're a very boring person if you don't have hobbies. And as most people know, I photograph sharks, so it's kind of having hobbies is really important in one's life.
Mm-hmm.
What was the next part of the question?
How do you see these large enterprise use cases as they start picking up? How do you see that impacting the HBAR NFT ecosystem?
Oh, well, some are quite NFT-y. So LG, for example,
Mm-hmm.
that's a pure play Web3. Embedded wallets into high-end screens with fine art as NFTs. Just a perfect combination of those things. Retail, and we're going to see, I think, some big retailers getting into. NFTs have kind of fallen off. They've had their peak, and they're kind of being replaced by some other things. But it's all growing. The tide is lifting. We know, those of us who have been through 2-3 bull cycles in the crypto. We know it's going to get very noisy. It's going to get very frothy. It's going to get very crazy. Hopefully, very soon. So we've got to be prepared for that, right? So the retail end know their brand. They know their customers. They know, those ones I've spoken to know that this is coming, right? So they're preparing themselves for that. They obviously don't always refer to the degen end of the community, but certainly there are very smart brand strategists that know that sticky connectivity with customers is good for business. So that's what they're doing, and I think Alex Russman refers to ecosystem as a service or something. The metaverse fund, the NFT fund, the game fraternity who are at last starting to transfer from Web 2 to Web 3, although kicking and screaming in most parts. The use of assets within our online interactions is going to enhance all of these things. We just look at craft, but what they're doing with a DAO, with fan engagement, with up-only gaming. I mean, I know Brandon talks about it all the time, but I could take a step back and kind of really appreciate. Not long ago, we had nothing like that, and all credit again to Alex and THF for really bringing this to the fore. And it's getting a lot of external interest. Joe Rogan and others are interested in the sport, and then they're finding out about the Web3 aspects supporting that sport, and then maybe they'll find out about Hedera. But it doesn't really matter, because those who know are getting having fun with the Karate coin and getting a yield and degenerating into DeFi with it and doing all those things as well. So this is the wonder of Web3. It's open, and tokens are mine. They're not decentralized platforms. So I can do with those tokens what I want. So there's all that side of the spectrum, the retail end, which is creeping up, because we're all customers of something, right? So those of us who actually interact all the time with Web3, are customers. We're prosumers, right? We're producers and consumers. And these are multi-sided platforms generally. So we provide and we consume, and and then we moved on to a different provide and consume relationship with another platform, maybe the other way around, and then this is where the network effect happens. I mean, I just noticed it really in myself, actually, over the last few months, how many more options there are for me to deploy HBAR into something else. In fact, CoinMan had a great meme the other day where he had who was it? I think it's Jason Momoa, Aquaman, creeping up on Henry Cavill, and the meme was, and he was covered in HTS tokens, Tune and Karate and Source and everything, and Henry Cavill has just the HBAR logo on it, and the meme was HTS tokens coming to get my HBAR bags. And I feel like that as well. I feel like all my HBAR bags should start being deployed more and more into these HTS tokens, not because I'm degenning in or aping into other tokens because they're outperforming the underlying token, but because I like those projects, and because I want to support those projects, and because there's an interaction, between Source or HeliSwap or HSuite with the liquidity pools and with the NFT space and with those things that we like doing, whether it be listening to music, Tune FM, or watching the fights on Karate Combat, or we want to do whatever else in that community. And apologies for those that I haven't mentioned, but there's a growing number of projects, and that's what we're going to be seeing this year. All of that investment through THF, through grants, THA, through grants over the last 2 years are now finally going to start seeing the light of day, and we'll get more and more and more. And the timing is perfect, because as we go into this next bull cycle, whenever it happens, we're going to get more and more. And that's what I think we're all seeing. You will have seen that, in the community, a lot more energy, a lot more chat, a lot more noise as well around this. And this is a great part of it. This is something that I really enjoy. And that all of that won't be lost on the top end of town, right? They move slowly. God, I know they move slowly. And I try, we try and push them along, but there are lots and lots of, risk hoops and product acceptance hoops and, C-suite sign-offs to actually adopt these new things. And you have to spend your time in innovation labs and, tiny proof points, and you need largely, and certainly in regulated industries, you need brave people who are willing to adopt this new technology in order to enhance their businesses. And that takes time, and it takes brave people, and it takes, the right level of engagement and support and persistence to get to that point. But it'll happen. And I see the two ends of the spectrum closing and closing and closing all the time. And then, in the same way as startups, innovate very quickly and agilely, they get adopted into or acquired into the enterprise. And before you know it, the connective tissue is joined, and we are off to the races. That's when we really take off. So, we're very close. I think we're very close to doing that. Some of the, we're seeing, so governing council wise, Aberdeen, huge money market fund is being tokenized. DLA Piper has had Toko, security token platform, for years, just kind of now based in Dubai, doing its thing with its virtual assets license. Atma.io doing more transactions on a distributed ledger than the rest of the industry put together. We've got EDF. I did that proof of concept recently with IREX, renewable energy certificates, which has I forget the number, it's 30 billion or something. I did some napkin math a while ago about how many TPS that equated to, and it was about 2.5 shards worth.
Wow.
So total addressable market. And then, we've got governing council members who are actively pushing the envelope, like Shinhan Bank and Standard Bank. And there's some great stuff coming out of some of the others. I'm sure I've missed a few. So there is a lot of energy, and I'm liking the, having been running the enterprise program, that I know that there's a lot more than I've mentioned. And the pipeline, because of the pipeline for membership, requires them, new members, to come with use cases. Then those are stacking up as well. Hyundai, I didn't even mention, not on the governing council, but actually doing some really cool use cases around both ESG, etc. And our Guardian ecosystem is being picked up, in Davos and COP28 by the UN, and it's turning heads. So I think we've done a lot of the right things over the last few years. And that, in the same way as the retail end gets picked up and drawn in almost by osmosis into the enterprise end, the enterprise use cases kind of get trickled down as well, and you get spin outs. Atma's a spin out or a subsidiary, I guess, of Avery Dennison. So you get those things happening as well. Very exciting space, and I don't see that on any other chain. Right, there are pockets, there are special purpose chains, but it's not happening anywhere. And we mustn't forget that the core of all of this change is developers. Right, it's the developer community. This is the lifeblood of new innovation. You can make business decisions, you make strategic decisions at board level, you can get the regulators involved and lined up doing all this. But without the adoption of the developer community, without the fluidity, the movement, the mobility of developers, from the retail end, maybe the DGen end even, through into the enterprise and back again. That's the thing. That's the fuel running through the extended distributed machine that actually then transfers the skills, the knowledge, the know-how across the whole landscape. So it's the developer community we need to engage with and support and enhance. And that's what THF and THA and the DLT Science Foundation, initiatives like the India's blockchain Bharat, doing hackathons, across all of the states, attracting 50,000 new developers into the Hedera fold. Just so much going on. I'll pause for breath so you can ask another question.
No, I think it's a really unique combination, right, that we have, and they feed into each other. It's just you have, like you say, you have the startups running and the enterprise that goes a bit slower, but they feed into each other, and it's just it's a time game, isn't it? It's a patience game that a lot of people lack. I include myself sometimes in Web3 because it is so fast that you sometimes forget to think that there is a parallel kind of world that's not Web3 yet, that is a lot slower, right?
Well, it's Web 2.5. I mean, we kind of just refer to 2.5, which is the first baby steps from Web 2 to Web 3 that enterprise need to take. And this is why I think HCS is like the DLT gateway drug, because it's easy. It's you just online notarization. It's logging. It's immutable, verifiable data logging. But it's a lot more, right? There's a very subtle hook into all the other services that Hedera can provide, and then you can start riffing on that because you've got the connection. But I'm very positive. I'm very excited for this next year, 2 years. I think this is going to be one of the best rides of our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to release this interview because I feel like there's so much, so many insights. Like I've learned a lot myself just talking with you. So I look forward to putting it out. Let's talk a little bit about that DGen part of yourself for a second. Have you ever thought of having your own NFT collection? Maybe sharks, a shark PFP collection. Has it ever crossed your mind?
It's crossed my mind. But I'm probably the least creative person on the planet. I used to think I was creative. My grandfather was an artist, and he was a very, very good artist, and I adored him. But I certainly didn't get those genes. I appreciate good art. have a habit of aping in to NFTs as well.
Uh-huh.
So I just aped into the Romeo on the streets
There's a shark,
collection,
right? You got the
which
shark.
I got the shark. Yeah. Well, I bought the shark on the secondary buy on Centex because I couldn't resist it. Although I've got an even better one. I've got a really cool cat, very colourful, cool cat. I'm a big David Bowie fan. I see that cat and I think that's a kind of the Bowie cat. So yeah, that's a great collection. Dead Pixels. I'm a massive fan of Dead Pixels. You know, I've got a whole bunch of ghosts. The Koala Club guys, I love them because I'm, you know, adopted Australian and love koalas. And you know, I've got, you know, the old what were they called? The crypto gremlins. They were kind of original Go Mint collection,
Okay.
which are pretty cool. I've got Spider-Man gremlin and Yoda gremlin. So yeah, I've got a full collection of. I haven't actually got a full collection of anything because that would be stupid. But I do like NFTs. I like the idea of NFTs. I don't know why. Should I do a shark one? Well, maybe I'll talk to Kabila at some point. And as
I
a
have some
shark,
ideas. I have
as a
some ideas.
shark, well, okay, well, let's talk. But as a shark photographer, so when I left the army, I had a bit of an adventure gap, you know, a void in the adrenaline that I was used to having, and you know, to fill that gap, and started scuba diving, and it wasn't adventurous enough for that. So I thought, let's go diving with some sharks, and as you do, I went to South Africa. But I signed up for a shark conservation tour. That was the only one I could get onto, and I'm a bit of a nature conservationist anyway. Back to my grandfather, who was an ornithologist and used to take me out sort of bird spotting when I was a tiny boy. But sharks were my sort of my birds, my grandfather, and I learned about the conservation angle on sharks, and thought, well, that's my purpose, right? I love these apex predators. They're the most incredible creatures, and I, was lucky enough to die. Lucky, most people think I'm crazy, but I was lucky enough on some of my first dives to actually come face to face, very, very close with some very big sharks, and was blown away about being in the water with them. And I've always been a photographer, so it seemed like the combination of underwater photography and sharks was going to be my thing. And having a bit of a, I guess this is the collector in me, having a bit of a compulsive collecting mentality. I just wanted to then dive with every kind of shark on the planet, and started running my own shark tours to South Africa, a company I set up called Shark Safaris, ostensibly really to pay for my own many trips, but the flip side, of course, is you're organizing other people's holidays, and they're never grateful, and the liability insurance is a little bit higher. So I stopped doing that, but I'd built enough of a network of friends who also was crazy as me, and we now, and for many years now, we just set up our own tours that we charter a boat and go somewhere very remote where it's known to be a shark hotspot, and then just dive it until we come back. I'm off to the Bahamas next month to do just that.
Beautiful.
Really remote location, and 4 or 5 dives a day with hammerheads and bull sharks and tiger sharks, lemon sharks, reef sharks. I mean, it's going to be heaven.
Wow.
But because of all that, I have got thousands and thousands and thousands of shark images, and one or two of them are quite good. You can't take that many photos without getting 1 or 2 good ones. So yes, I have thought about what can I do, because of course you don't use them. I donate them to the Shark Trust and shark conservation organizations. I've had a few magazine covers. I do school talks and presentations to educate. Especially in Australia, there's it's kind of a interesting relationship with the sharks here. So I do my very, very small bit of with what I have available to me, but actually I just love being in the water with them. So yeah, maybe there is a collection in there. Let's talk offline about what that might look like.
Just listening to you for the last few minutes has given me a lot of ideas. So definitely have a talk about that.
Cool.
What are you most excited about this year to wrap this up? Because we've touched on so many things. You actually answered a lot of my questions without me asking them, which was great. You made it super easy.
Okay.
But yeah, what would be the highlight that you're looking forward to this year, 2024?
Well, I've got lots, right? But let's just have one or two. I mean, my role here, I've got a mountain to climb, right? So my Australian Payments Plus, this isn't just a job. This is, for me, a legacy. I've got to try to corral an entire national infrastructure and 150 members of organizations into a kind of Web3 facing world. What does that look like? I mean, it's a massive job, but I'm up for a challenge. And we're going to do it in bite-sized chunks, so it won't be done overnight. But positioning a national payments industry for the future to protect and to embrace the opportunities, not just for the payments industry, but for the entire economy, because it underpins the entire economy, is actually a really good thing to do. So I think that's what I'm really excited about personally this year. For the Hedera ecosystem, I think we've got such an amazing year ahead. I mean, we're just talking about the noise that we're seeing, the ups and downs, the 5x, 10x tokens, all of the emerging projects in the HTS economy. I think that's super exciting. These are just the opening shots, right? Yeah. This isn't the bull. I mean, those of us who have been through bull, this is not a bull. This is the initial rumblings of the stomach of a bull that's just waking up, right? This is nothing. This is nothing compared with what's to come. So that's super exciting. I mean, you've got to strap in and ride. You've got to be ready as well, because there's no point, changing course or even thinking. When you're at that height of the bull, you've got to be prepared. So getting prepared right now is a really good plan, actually. What else am I excited about? I think I'm also excited. I mean, that's the kind of community. That's the adoption side of things, and there are projects I'm very excited about seeing what they do. Galaxy, Zenny. We've got some great games coming out. DGen, big Doctor Who fan. I love the Worlds Apart project. I mean, that's a great. I mean, kudos again to Alex Russman for capturing that. Very, very, very excited in the Guardian space. Everything that Wes Geisenberger is doing, and his relentless and single-minded vision for what Hedera could be, capturing that entire market. No one else has gone for that. I mean, you got well-meaning projects on other chains, driven by big-hearted, well-meaning, sometimes very astute people. But they're single projects. Wes has kind of created an ecosystem. I mean, not single-handedly, because of course he's got a great team around him. But being able to drive that is nothing short of incredible. So, we're just seeing that materialize as well. All the groundwork has been done across the entire ecosystem. Getting Olcott, which is one of the world's biggest sustainability project developers, to commit to 500 million tons of carbon credits. That's 500 million tokens. We're talking big numbers here. What else? Flutterwave, Africa's biggest payments infrastructure, 32 countries, building on Hedera. stablecoin implementations and rails for USDC and other stablecoins. That's going to be a big deal. As a payments guy, that I think that's going to be massive. So there are some great things happening in that space, and the projects that are coming to market are going to blow our minds, absolutely blow our minds. And then I guess the last thing is just helping the governing council navigate towards community nodes. I don't know that it'll happen this year, but I think that connection between the great and good governing council and the community is bridged with community nodes. And it's going to be a slow and methodical process, as it should be. It's a controlled process. But for me, getting to community nodes is a signal. It's not the be-all and end-all, but it's a signal that we've got sufficient scale, we've got sufficient revenue, we've got a maturity in the technology that allows community nodes to exist and be operated by third parties, and it means that the network is ready to fulfill that kind of dream of full decentralization. So whether that's this year or whether it's next year, it doesn't really matter. We're going to be very close to that. So those are things that I'm excited about. I'm sure there's a bunch of other things that I've forgotten.
That's definitely something on the community's radar that they're impatiently waiting for, right?
It comes up a lot. It comes up, but I'm not sure the community fully appreciates what a community node actually means or is. There's a bit because of I'm sure they do. I mean, I'm sorry that's probably the wrong thing to say, but the running a community node is a commitment. There is a cost. There is, it's contributing to the growth of the network and the infrastructure. And, there will be a select handful to start with of non-governing council members, and then there'll be more, and then there'll be more, and there'll be more. So, like I said, I think it's a great signal to the community that community nodes will be available. I guess I'm also looking forward to this fantastic shark collection that you and I are going to be developing. But I mean, there are games. I'm not a gamer, but I love some of the games as well. Earthlings is great. What Mythos are doing. I mean, having a AAA game on one hand and having something as beautifully crafted as Earthlings. I mean, that's just such an amazing way of organically creating a game. I love that team and what they're doing. You see, there's so much to talk about, right?
I know, right?
And you could go on for hours, and these other projects keep popping up because I'm sure I've missed some of my favorite ones as well. And I've got a couple of stealth projects as well, so hopefully those will come out of stealth this year, and I'll be able to talk more fully about those too.
Amazing. It's definitely gearing up to be a great year. If I was excited before this call, I'm even more excited now.
It's every reason to be.
Yeah. Is there anything we haven't touched on, anything I haven't asked that you'd love to mention to wrap this up? It's been an amazing hour.
What should I talk about? No, I don't think so. I mean, I think we have done pretty well in an hour. The community know me. I am H Barbarian through and through. I think people, I try to be accessible. I try to be the voice, not the voice of the community. I try to be accessible to the community, to give it voice where I can. And I love receiving the messages and the tweets and the DMs. I don't always respond. Sometimes I'm not allowed to respond. Other times I don't have the answers. But I like being a bridge. We have many bridges, right? I think Charles Atkins is going to be an amazing force for good within Hedera. Now he's turned up in he's in this new president role. There are some really great, good ambassadors from the governing council as well, all of whom are very happy to be reached out to and talked to, throwing them. I'm not giving out personal email addresses or phone numbers, but Duncan Moyer and Simon Olsen and Scott Teal, and all the names. They're true believers as well, and I think we've got a good group of OGs across all the layers. Elizabeth Chase, has been a mainstay of the community. Brandon, both Brandons, in fact.
Yeah.
And Coinman and right. So there's so many great individuals in this space. And unlike other spaces, there's very, very rarely any ill feeling. The values of this community are quite incredible. And I take it back to those early days where we were just sat in those Telegram groups, and most of us lurking and learning. The values were set then. Lehman and Mance always stuck to their own protocol. They never talked about any other protocol. No reason to, right? Stick to your own knitting. Never talked about the price. HBAR price is almost irrespective. I know everyone loves to talk about it. I love to talk about it, but they stick to the technology and stay your course, right? And the values are of respect for others, respect within the community, and respect across communities, because we're still really early. Web3 is really early, and just look what's happened with DREC, right? So the DREC Alliance. Who would have thought, just a few months ago, that we'd be on a stage? Lehman would be on a stage with, the Algorand Foundation announcing the DREC Alliance. That we'd have Wallet Connect and MetaMask Snaps and all the interconnectivity that we're doing. Our amazing wallets in Hashpack and Blade are, some of the best experiences in the whole of Web3. Our DEX is, SaucerSwap, is one of the slickest, easiest, most compelling, DeFi and DEX experiences across the entire Web3 space. I defy anyone to try and go back to Uniswap or SushiSwap or any of the others after experiencing SaucerSwap. And then, of course, we've got our NFT, which we didn't have. Right, and just 18 months, 2 years ago, we didn't have NFT marketplaces. We didn't have launch pads like Kabila and Headstarter and all the others. So, the 2 years that we've had, 2 to 3 years we've had in this kind of deep and cold crypto winter, there's been a lot of building going on, a lot of investment and grants coming out of the foundation, the association, a lot of great teams just building good stuff, and it's a delight to use. So, to the point about HTS tokens coming to get my HBAR bags, that's how you interact. Don't just sit on your bags and wait, kicking your bag, waiting for it to come to life. Interact with all of these wonderful projects, and the magic will happen.
Yeah, definitely lots of seeds, like you say, have been planted right over the past year, 2 years, and now we're starting to see, the little seedlings grow.
Yeah. What are you seeing? Let's turn the question over to you. What are you, from your perspective? I love your little daily, thought bubbles as you're walking around wherever you live. What's that perspective like, from a community, from a Kabila perspective, everything like that?
Yeah, I can say that because I've been on Hedera and with Kabila for just over a year now, and the growth the whole NFT ecosystem or community has had, and just seeing Earthlings progress, like you mentioned, Earthlings, and all of these projects that have been building relentlessly and networking and kind of coming together, whether it be on Twitter Spaces or doing interviews or jumping on calls to discuss different things. There's this real collaborative effort to improve the ecosystem.
Hmm.
And it's just very exciting to see as a community member as well, like you say, experiencing these dApps and using them and buying NFTs.
Yeah.
It's just getting easier and easier. It's getting so easy to create a token, to do a snapshot, to airdrop, to do all this fun stuff that you're going to do with sharks, right? It's just so easy that you don't have to have coding skills. You don't need to understand the back end.
Mm.
You can just literally log on and start having fun. And I think
Yeah.
that's what's really going to drive the next couple of years. So
Yeah.
I'm very, very excited, as a community member, but also from within Kabila. With our upgrade coming within hopefully the next week. We had to postpone it a few days, but with the V2 coming, we're taking what's already very easy to use to another level. So more features, more gamifying mints, different phases, just more fun stuff for creators and founders and brands to tokenize and leverage the power of Hedera.
Yeah.
So that just excites us. We want to just keep providing the best tools and also getting involved in those creations like yourself, because I'm very much, I call myself a DGen as well. I get involved in
We're
these
all
tokens.
degens.
The
Yeah.
last few days have been crazy with the HTS, like just a lot of fun, especially
Well,
fun. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, this discussion around meme coins is a really good signal. I mean,
Yeah.
who'd have thought that Shane Higdon would be aping into meme coins? And Grelf, is I like Grelf. I think Grelf's a lot of fun. But there are it's a signal. It's another signal, right? When meme coins come to your chain, you've achieved a level of maturity. It might be silly, it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's a great signal that level of maturity means that we've arrived at a growth, and mass adoption is very, very close, because there's something for everyone now.
It's
And
that stickiness as well that you mentioned earlier. The
it's
stickiness of Grelf. Like you can't
it's
forget Grelf once you've seen Grelf, right? That image is in your head forever.
Warlock is such a crazy guy. He's but yeah, there are some the tool you mentioned, the tooling. Actually, tooling is really, really important. The things that Patches has been doing, the Swirlds Labs teams with the stablecoin studio, just making things easy. You mentioned your tools. Guardian is a whole set of tools. Dovu are creating tooling around Guardian to make it easy. JoeGet, a kind of no-code platform integrated with the Hedera services. This is taking, the use of DLT to just everyone. This is the equivalent of widgets in Zapier or your automation tools. It's the equivalent of scripting or macro scripting languages within Office products. It's just power user tools now.
Yeah.
But Web3 power users, whether you want to, whatever you want to do, I think you've got tooling available to you. And so that's another sign of maturity, right? It's not about core engineering anymore. It's about taking the tools to the masses and then standing back and letting them, degen or develop or build their businesses with that tool set. Or create meme coins. I mean, who cares? I mean, this is Web3. There should be no controls.
Yeah. Let everyone have some fun.
Everyone's
like us,
got a
like us.
degen.
This has been
Yeah.
a lot of fun, Rob. I really, really appreciate you for taking the time to do this. I'm
My
excited to
pleasure.
put this out for the community. Yeah.
My pleasure. And everyone knows how to get hold of me. I'm very happy to answer questions. And let's keep it going through 2024.
Absolutely. I guess I'll see you on the timeline.
Absolutely. See you soon. Thanks, everyone.